Starting off this countdown, we have the Lesser Key of Solomon. The Lesser Key of Solomon is a cursed grimoire that is said to contain summoning spells for over 72 demons. That's right, this book can help you summon 72 demons. And no one knows who wrote it. What we do know is that this book contains a bunch of compiled texts from the 17th century. Some of these texts tell the reader how to conjure spirits or demons, and then it tells you how to control these entities that you summon. No matter how cool you may think that is, you don't ever want to own this book. This book is apparently so cursed that anyone who keeps a copy of it will die or experience constant bad luck. One person who owned a copy of this book reported the book's pages turning on its own. Another time, the book violently flew across the room at them. They also heard strange whispers coming from the book, and on a number of occasions have seen shadow people. The only way to end this curse is to burn all the pages in the book and then get rid of all the ashes. Seems like a lot of work, so maybe just don't go out seeking copies of it. Although we don't know who wrote the book, legend has it that King Solomon originally wrote it for his son. He then asked him to bury it with him in his grave. But apparently when he was getting prepared for burial, a group of Babylonian philosophers found the book, and one of them got a vision from an angel. The angel told him to hide the book from the unworthy. So he decided to cast a spell on it to keep it from getting into the wrong hands. And that's how the book got its curse. But for some reason, copies of the book can be found on the internet. So if you want to tempt your fate, check it out. But seriously, actually maybe don't. Like, all we need this year are demons taking over the world because some Dumbo tried to summon them. In our fourth spot today, we have the Grand Grimoire. Otherwise known as the Gospel of Satan, this book has been named one of the most terrifying occult books in history. So it was apparently written in the 16th century by a man that was possessed by the devil. Yeah, you heard me correctly. The book is filled with instructions on how to summon demons or raise spirits from the dead. Reading this book and following any of the spells is said to be equivalent to selling your soul to the devil, which is why the original book is kept locked away somewhere in the Vatican's secret archives. They don't want anyone messing around with this book. But you can find versions of this book online and for sale, but it won't be the original cursed text. Either way, I'm not risking it. Coming in our third spot, we have the Book of Sacred Magic. Back in the 15th century, a mage named Abramelin decided to gift his son with a book filled with mythical curses. I doubt it was on his son's wish list, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Anyways, in the 1900s, the book was translated to English, and that's when people realized it was probably cursed. Why? Well, throughout the book, it talked about rituals on how to control your demons. Abra believed that every person had their own demon, not just a metaphorical one, but a literal one. This book taught you on how to control your demon. It also talked about how to perform other supernatural acts. In the end, it was believed that whoever owns a copy will be haunted by spirits, and bad luck will befall on them. In fact, a number of people have reported bad luck and hauntings after reading this book. So it seriously isn't worth it. Like, I'm not getting cursed. No, thank you. Coming in at number 2, we have the Book of Soiga, otherwise known as the Book That Kills. So I suggest you don't put it on your reading list. Basically, this book was created in the 16th century and is a Latin essay all about demonology. To this day, we still don't know who wrote it. But what we do know is that John Dee, who worked as an advisor for Elizabeth I, got the book in 1580. He spent the rest of his life trying to decipher the whole thing. He quickly realized that this book was no good. It talked about how to conjure demons and had a list of spells and stuff like that. Rumor has it that one section of the book he could not decipher at all. It was a page with tables filled with random Latin letters. But he was determined to decipher it. So him and his pal, who was an occultist and medium, apparently summoned the archangel Uriel. The angel apparently spoke through his friend and said that this book was made when Adam entered paradise. And also, apparently only Archangel Michael is the only one who can decipher the full book. The angel also warned them that the book was cursed, and anyone who deciphers the meaning of the coded tables would die 2.5 years later. Well, in the end, this book drove John to madness, and he died. After his death, the book was lost for the longest time, until 1994. That's when not one, but 2 copies were found. Crazy. But let me know in the comments below, if you had the opportunity, would you risk your life deciphering this book? I'm a little curious to see what it's about, but also I don't want to die, so maybe not. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Devil's Bible. The Devil's Bible, otherwise known as the Codex Gigas, is this massive 310-page book said to harness evil and negative energy. It was discovered in 1648 when a Swedish army looted the city of Prague. During this time, they discovered this book, which is considered the largest medieval book in the world. Like I said, it was composed of 310 pages, but it is also 36 inches tall, 20 inches wide, 8.7 inches thick, and weighs 165 pounds. In fact, the book did contain 320 pages at one point, but the last 10 pages were cut out and removed. More on this later, stay tuned. So now, there's this really creepy legend surrounding this book. Legend goes that the book was written by a monk, but this monk broke his spiritual vows, and he was sentenced to be sealed behind a brick wall and left to die. The night before his death, he realized he would not be able to finish his book, so he summoned Lucifer and asked him to complete it for him. In return, he offered him his soul. So legend goes that this book was finished by the devil himself. Now, remember those pages that I said were removed? Well, apparently they were removed for a very important reason. Some people believe that those pages told people how to summon the devil. And obviously, if those pages fell into the wrong hands, it would be bad. To make this book even creepier, some pages are filled with drawings of the devil and other demonic entities. One page contains a 19-inch frightening drawing of Satan. And apparently, the book also contains a bunch of dark rituals and tests, like how to perform exorcisms. You know, in case you summon the devil or a demon, then you just want to take it all back again. Starting off this countdown, we have The Orphan Story. The Orphan Story is an adventure book about a Spanish teen who heads to the Spanish Empire in search for fortune. Doesn't sound like a scary story at all, right? Well, wrong. This book is apparently very cursed. So it was written in the early 1600s by a monk who broke his sacred vow. His name was Martin de Leon Cardenas. But here's the thing. The book didn't get published until 2018. Why? Because anyone who worked on the book or helped with its publication died under mysterious circumstances. Hence why people started to say that this book was cursed. For example, one editor died in a horrific accident. The other couple of editors died of strange illnesses. Now, you're probably wondering the same thing that I was. How come this seemingly innocent book got cursed? Well, that still remains a mystery. Some believe it was cursed after the author broke his vow. It was cursed as a punishment for his betrayal. Whereas others believe the book is cursed by the devil himself. But it seems as if the curse has been lifted now, so no need to worry. Maybe that's because the author is long gone. Once he died, the curse was lifted. Anyways, in 1965, a woman named Belinda Palacios discovered this book hidden in the archives of the Hispanic Society of America. Everyone warned her about the curse, but she didn't listen. She began working on this book for 2 years. Eventually, in 2018, it finally got published. And it's believed that the curse, again, like I said, is lifted. Either way, I'm not going to tempt my fate by reading it. But let me know in the comments below, are you brave enough to read this cursed book? In our 4th spot today, we have the Great Omar. This book has quite the dark past. So in 1909, a man named Sanzgorski decided to create a much fancier version of the book, The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Anyways, he bejeweled it and made the cover look beautiful. It took him 2,500 hours to create. In the end, it had 1,500 precious stones / semi-precious stones, 4,900 leather inlays, and 600 sheets of 22-karat gold leaf. It's honestly a very beautiful book. But the thing is, no one wanted to buy this super expensive book when they could literally get the same book without all that for much cheaper. So all that time and effort was for nothing. No one wanted to buy it. Now, eventually it was put up for auction, but only sold for £450. Ugh. Now, the book was shipped, but it never got to its buyer. Why? Well, the ship it was being transported on was the Titanic, and the book went down with the ship. But wait, get this. Only a few weeks later, the creator of this book mysteriously drowns. Ain't that a freaky coincidence? But that's not all. A second version of this book was created and they called it the Great Omar 2. It was then placed in a bank vault. But the bank was hit by a bomb during the London Blitz of World War II, and this copy was destroyed as well. Then a third copy was created and donated to the British Library, where apparently it is still to this day. But due to its dark past, many believe that this book is cursed and that bad things will happen to whoever owns it. I'd say, like, dang, that was bad luck from the get-go. Like, as soon as he created it, it was just bad luck everywhere. In our third spot today, we have the Thevoynick Manuscript. This manuscript was discovered in an old chest in Rome in 1912 and is believed to have been written sometime in the early 15th century. Now, there is a lot of mystery surrounding this book. For starters, we really don't know who wrote it. Apparently, it was purchased by the Roman Emperor Rudolph II, who believed it had been written by Roger Bacon. But Bacon lived in the 12th century and the paper carbon dated to the 15th. So like, that doesn't add up. What the heck is going on? Now, the first known owner of the book was an alchemist named George Barish. One day he found the book in his library and he was like, okay, how the heck did it get there? I don't know this book. After him, the book was owned by a number of emperors and officials. Again, no one has ever been able to decipher this 240-page book. Even the best cryptographers and linguists in the world haven't been able to decipher it. Not only that, but the book contains images of plants that have been long extinct. And it also has images of intricate astrological signs. As a result, this book has been deemed the world's most mysterious book and the Everest of historical code breaking. Now, there are a number of theories associated with this book. One is that it was created by aliens, hence why we don't understand the language. It's some alien language. The second theory is that it was created by a demon or the devil himself. In fact, people think that by deciphering this book, it will unleash a curse and kill whoever reads it. This is also why the book has become one of the most feared books of all time. In fact, a number of people who have tried to translate this book have gone on to have years and years of bad luck. Coming in at number 2, we have the Necronomicon. I know what you're thinking. Lindsay, this is a fictional book. Why is this on this list? Well, a number of people believe this book to be real. Obviously, this is a horror channel, so you probably all know about this book, but here's a little refresher. The Necronomicon, also called The Book of the Dead, is a fictional book created by H.P. Lovecraft. It's featured in the Evil Dead movies, and reading it can release literal hell. So it is an ancient grimoire bound in human skin with its images and text inked in human blood. Yum. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Lovecraft insisted it was a made-up book, but true fans of the occult think otherwise. The book, in fact, exists, but is hidden so that it will never cause any harm. Now, Lovecraft says the idea of the book came to him in a dream, so many think that the spirits of this book chose Lovecraft to reveal it, meaning the book is really out there somewhere. Now, real-life publishers decided to produce physical copies of this book, but obviously those books don't harness real evil powers. But who knows? Maybe one day we will unearth the real Necronomicon. Let's hope not. Seriously, let's keep this as a fictional book. I've seen Evil Dead. I'm not about it, okay? And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Untitled Grimoires. Back in 2013, 2 mysterious books appeared online by a bookseller. The books were quite weird. They were handwritten in red ink with weird symbols all throughout it. Turns out that these books were real-life witch spell books. But here's the thing. Once a witch dies, their spell books are supposed to be burned. These 2 books were not burned after the witch's death, meaning that they are now highly cursed. In fact, the seller warned how cursed they were. Like, who would willingly buy a cursed book? Not me. Anyways, the book itself comes with a warning written on its first page. It says, and I quote, "To those not of this craft, the reading of this book is forbidden. Proceed no further, or justice will exact a swift and terrible retribution, and you surely will suffer at the hand of the craft." So if you're not a witch and you bought this book, you're basically screwed, RIP. The books were listed online for over $13,000. That's a lot of money to pay for a curse. But we don't know for sure if anyone actually bought them. So hey, go ahead and check them out if you got money to spend and if you aren't afraid of a little curse. Starting off this countdown, we have the King in Yellow. The King in Yellow is a cursed book that is said to drive readers into insanity. So this book is composed of a series of short stories written by a man named Robert Chambers. Apparently, the first act is fairly normal, so it entices you to keep reading. But once you get to Act 2, that's where it gets all weird and extremely dark. Here's what one person said about the book. The very banality and innocence of the first act only allowed the blow to fall afterward with more awful effect. Even seeing the first page of the second act is enough to draw the reader in. If I had not caught a glimpse of the opening words in the second act, I should never have finished it. Sounds intense, right? Well, it is. In fact, a number of people have claimed to have felt ill while reading this book. Others said they have woke up with weird bruises and scratches all over their bodies, or even had very vivid and dark night terrors. One individual posted online saying her friend got possessed by this book. She read the book, and every time there's mention of it, she'll go into this huge coughing fit. Not only that, one night she sent a bunch of weird messages to her friend saying stuff like, "Have you seen the yellow sign?" which is a reference to the book. The next day she checked her phone and had no memory whatsoever of sending these texts. After reading this book, her health literally started to decline. Somehow, she thinks she has fallen victim to this book's curse. Moving on to number 4, we have Death Note. Death Note is a fictional Japanese manga series about a notebook that will kill anyone whose name is written inside of it. But obviously, this isn't real, right? Well, this actually influenced a bunch of murders. For starters, in 2005 in China, several schools banned replica death notebooks that children were using. They were caught writing names of their peers and teachers in them, basically people they wished were dead. Same thing happened in 2007 in the States. In fact, a student in Virginia was suspended for having a death notebook. Then the murders started. In 2007 in Belgium, a dismembered corpse was found in a forest. Next to the body were 2 notes, both references to the Death Note series. The killer was a mystery for years. That was until 2010 when 3 suspects were convicted for this crime. Apparently, they were all fans of this series. With all that being said, there is a real cursed death notebook out there. Story goes that a man named Rob Thatcher was a huge fan of this show and decided to create one of his own. He wrote down the names of people he wanted gone, but obviously nothing happened. So he took it a step further by performing a satanic ritual. During this ritual, he cut his hand as a sacrifice to Satan and bled on the pages of the notebook. And guess what? It worked. The next day, one of his enemies got in a deadly car accident. It was late at night and he skidded off the road and died. The following week, his ex-girlfriend had a terrible allergic reaction that sent her to the hospital where she nearly died. And then the following week, another one of his victims died by taking his own life. So it's believed that his book is now cursed by the devil, and whoever's name is written in there will die. Coming in at number 3, we have Toninos Help. Now, this isn't so much a book as it is a poem, but it is so cursed that it deserves a spot on this list, okay? So, Toninos Help is the name of a poem written by Seijo Yaso. Legend goes that whoever reads the poem out loud will suffer from misfortune or even death. Consequences range from feeling sick to injuring yourself, and even death. So no one really knows what this poem is about. Some interpret that the poem is about a young boy who descends into the 8 levels of hell after killing his parents. Whereas others believe it's about a man going to war and then dying, never being able to see his family again. Either way, it's said that you should never, and I mean never, read this poem out loud. The curse is so strong that some people who have read this poem in their head have even felt ill while doing so. Now, I refuse to even look at the poem, let alone recite it. According to this legend, one person read the poem and ended up vomiting glass. Another person had their loved ones die a tragic death. In fact, one radio show host tried to read it out loud on air, and halfway through he started to feel ill and disturbed and wasn't able to finish it. He continued to feel ill, and a few days later he got into an accident that resulted in him having to get 7 stitches. So don't even think about reading it. And I mean, I say that, but I know you guys are Googling it as I speak. Coming in at number 2, we have Babadook. Also, do you guys say Babadook or Babadook? because let me know which way is the right way. Politely, let me know. Anyways, the 2014 movie Babadook is pretty freaking creepy, not gonna lie. And of course, there's that famous scene in the movie with that creepy ass pop-up book. Well, fans loved it so much they wanted a copy of this book in real life. So the creators listened to the people and created limited copies of the Babadook book. In 2015, 6,200 pop-up books were created. Later, they did do a second release, but after that, they said they were no longer making any more copies of the book. People were then selling them on eBay for like $500. Anyways, a couple of people claimed that the book they received was cursed or haunted. Being in the same room as the book made them feel uneasy. They literally became super dizzy and sick. One person was even reading the book when she passed out. She woke up the next day on the couch with no recollection of what happened the night before. So be careful. These books might be cursed. And in our number one spot today, we have The Endless Book. This is the name I have given to a cursed book that was purchased off of eBay. On the selling site, it was listed as a vintage beautiful notebook. It had this beautiful intricate design on the front with gold details and real gems in it. The pages were filled with someone else's drawings, doodles, and writing. But it came with a warning. It was cursed. The seller said that the book once belonged to her friend and it was her diary. But her friend ended up taking her life, and now apparently her soul is attached to her diary, and she haunts whoever owns the book. Now, the book was purchased by a woman who is obsessed with collecting vintage items. She thought the whole backstory was just a load of BS, a ploy to get the book to sell. That was until weird things started to happen to her. Drawings in the book would change, disappear, or switch pages. Writings would also appear and disappear. It's given me Tom Riddle's diary vibes from Harry Potter, not gonna lie. The freakiest part was the book was growing. Each day a page was getting added to the book, some blank, some with new drawings or new texts. Now, the woman was smart and ended up getting rid of the book. That was after the book literally gave her a warning. She woke up one day to the book open. The page it was on had "The End" written across the page in big red bold letters. It was written in blood. To this day, we don't know what happened to this cursed diary. But I think we all learned a valuable lesson, right? Don't go buying haunted/cursed items off of eBay.